our guest is in the studio for our next conversation, which, as we are seeing all this conversation about dialogue, when NADCO was formed, no, before NADCO, there was that other thing that was parliamentary. MPs from Azimio, MPs from Kenya Kwanza, co-chaired by Otiende Amolo and the Murugara, the MP, the chair of JLAC, and that flopped. We asked, so, okay, these guys are talking, so where are the people going to have a conversation? That flopped. NADCO came in, co-chaired by Kalonzo and majority leader in the National Assembly and other leaders who came in, even from the Senate, and we asked, excuse me, na wananchi wako wapi? Now again, we are going to run a multi-sectoral, multifactorial, multi-whatever talks, and 150 people have been decided by some people. They have decided the figure is 150 is a good number.
It represents the country.
And we have decided that the talks will start on Monday today, and they'll be for 7 days.
Is serious public participation.
And kila mtu ajalipia bus fare.
Yes, but you have to be 150.
Tuko austerity. Na mjipange vile mnakuja 150.
Hata lunch ujibebe.
Na lunch pia ujibebe. The conversation again comes back. Na mwananchi
ako wapi?
Ataongea wapi? Sinyi mko 50 wananchi.
No,
maybe that's the answer.
Si mwananchi ni youth.
Kwani youth? So 50 ni youth.
Yes.
Alafu hao wengine 50 watatoka kwa wananchi. Political parties, religious
political
leaders.
Parties don't fit into that category.
Religious leaders. Professional groups, professional women.
Allow me to borrow a phrase that has been used over and over again by politicians. Mboga.
Exactly.
She cannot be left out.
No. Mboga lazima kuwe hapo ndani. Na ule mtu wa kuuza mboga na mtu ya wheelbarrow. Haya. Cyprian Orina-Nyamwamu is the spokesperson for the Kenya Bora Tuitakayo. He's our guest. We want to find out where the citizen is going to have a voice in this whole dialogue that's going on. Cyprian, good morning.
Morning, Eric. Morning, Du. Morning, City.
Morning, Cyprian.
Good morning.
Good to have you back here again.
What a great pleasure to be back here.
Karibu sana to the hot seat of the Situation Room.
Thank you.
Now, City, take us to the proverb. You said this week and next week we are going to island nations in Africa.
Yes, we're looking at island nations.
Okay.
Yes, because it is easy for them to be overlooked. Well, because one, in terms of size, in terms of population, but they are form a very key and fundamental history of this particular continent.
Okay.
So this week we are in the island republic of, if I speak Kizungu, in English is Cape Verde. If I speak Portuguese, it's Cape Verde. Yes.
It's a Cabo Verde.
That actually was the original name, you're right. It was Cabo Verde. It was. Yes.
So they were a Portuguese colony at some point?
They were the place of the greenery. The Cabo was supposed to represent a certain greenery. It's a very lushly green island.
Where is it? The other one was in Central Africa.
West. This one is west.
This one is west.
This one is west.
Okay.
But it's still in the Atlantic Ocean.
Okay.
It's west of the Atlantic Ocean.
It's west in the Atlantic.
Considered West Africa.
Okay.
Yeah, yes. And like many of these islands, it is not an island per se. They're called island nation because there are the small islands around it. Okay? The word they use for it is archipelago. Okay? Now, but it's even more interesting. It's part of a larger body of island nations such as this across the world. And you'll find some were Spanish, some claim British colonization and so forth. But they're unique in this sense. Cape Verde is in Africa. The Canary Islands, which are not far from it, are actually part of Portugal. They are not part of Africa. Okay? There's Madeira, which is also similar. It's also now, it's an independent state, but it's part of Portugal. Yes, it's an island.
But it's in Africa.
No, that now is in Portugal. I'm simply saying, yes.
As well.
I'm simply talking about the unique nature of these islands and how it is they have a unique formation of their own, and as to who colonized them and who owns them, and yet it is claimed they are independent.
Okay.
Unique, isn't it? But let me repeat again. The unique thing about Cabo Verde is this: it's one of those very few countries that have more of its citizens outside the country than they're inside the country. The diaspora population is almost twice the number of people within the country. Interesting, isn't it?
Yep.
Right. Now the proverb. When carrying an elephant's flesh on one's head, one should not look for crickets underground.
when carrying an elephant's flesh on one's head, one should not look for crickets underground.
Yes.
Cyprian, what's the interpretation of this proverb?
Very, very powerful one. That the Kenyan way is to tell you that if you're looking for the antelope, don't look for the squirrels. Because be focused on what the big prize is. If you brought it back home to the circumstances we find ourselves in, you would tell the president that focus on the presidency, don't do other people's little jobs, because you may actually do a very bad job of them. It's very, very interesting about the elephant. You already have killed the elephant, you are carrying the flesh, but you are still looking for crickets to see whether you can also carry a few. Go and fry at home the way we do.
Unatafuta kumbe kumbe.
Unatafuta kumbe kumbe, and you're already carrying the elephant and its flesh.
Tosheka na bwana.
Tosheka with the big thing that you already have.
Right.
Yes.
That's a good one. A lot's happening in the country.
A lot.
Yeah.
Yes.
Before we even move into the voice of the citizen, let's hear the voice of Cyprian. What do you make of what's happening right now?
No, you invited me. I was here in March of this year, and we discussed governance. That is when the gas explosion had happened out there in Embakasi.
Yeah.
And we shared here, and I told you that Kenyans were basically done with William Ruto. If you go to your clip, you will see that. Because once governance fails, and it's because of poor leadership, you cannot keep the country together. So what you are all seeing is the people of Kenya saying that there are 4 issues that have been there since independence. And we no longer can, the generation that is now dealing doesn't have space for those 4 sins or evils, as we've come to call them. Basically, the Gen Zs are saying, number 1, is that they don't trust the people in power. Number 2 is that they cannot take the disrespect that they are seeing. The third thing is that the lack of transparency and accountability has come to a head. And finally, the young people are saying there is no discipline in this place. So if you look at those 4 things, they don't just touch on the Ruto presidency and government. They go across to churches, to cooperative societies, to universities, to every sector, even families. Parents, we are being told by our children, and they are telling us that they cannot trust us because we don't keep our word.
Yeah.
They are telling us that we don't respect them. And if you look at the way people have been disrespecting Kenyans, driving on the wrong side of the road, buying watches worth 6 million and everything else. They are saying that kind of disrespect with our money is no longer acceptable in this country. And we have looked at the third thing, which is the total lack of discipline. In other words, people don't do the right thing at the right time in the right way. This is what is missing. And then there's lack of transparency and accountability. This impunity, this corruption that has gone on since independence, unfortunately has come to an end. And President Ruto, we have been speaking to him since he came to office, that you are very fortunate to have been given the opportunity. But listen to what Kenyans are saying. Even as late as this morning, they are not listening. They are not listening. And as I told you, it's not just Ruto. It's the opposition, it's the church, it's universities. You go to SACCOs. People are not listening to what Kenyans are saying.
So leadership across the board
is across the board.
Is not listening.
They are not listening. And that's why Occupy churches has come up. Occupy, it's not just Occupy Parliament. It is across the board. Anyone who does not listen to the people, they are saying we are going to come and occupy until you listen and hear, because there's a difference between listening and hearing.
Indeed.
So President Ruto keeps saying, I have listened to the youth. But you are not hearing what they are telling you. What the youth are telling the president is that they don't want dialogue. Because dialogue, over the last 19 years, has produced 26 reports, including NADCO.
26 reports.
26 reports
In how long?
in 19 years. Since 2005, all right? There have been, actually 2006, so it's 18 years. Over 18 years, you have 26 reports.
So that's a place to come off of, Cyprian, because there has been a lot of talking. I mean, and people come together, travel to unknown destinations, have conversations, and just like you're saying, a report comes out of it. So that's the physical manifestation of how we know that there's so much talk, because as a report is gathering some dust somewhere. But then in terms of doing, and we're not even saying do what is in the report, we're just saying doing what ought to be done so that you don't get to the place where you have to dialogue in the first place.
Do the right thing.
Do the right thing from the get-go.
Exactly.
Right? So from what we see now, there's supposed to be some talks today. Are they still there? I don't know. There's supposed to be some talks today. Some people are supposed to start talking again. Even the last talk about NADCO and whatever just resulted again in a report where people are still not able to come together on certain things. Can we actually separate the two and say, you know what, the call today, we're not even asking for the call today, and to say that the protest, the revolution, as I will call it, is not even asking for a new leader. It's not even saying, okay, let's change the system of government. It's just saying, do the right thing. Is that where we are?
It's exactly, you actually got it. That's the discipline part. And the young people of this country who are being isolated who are being targeted so that they can be shut down, like we were shut down and every other generation was shut down, are saying a very simple thing. Do the right thing that the Constitution of Kenya has asked you to do. Let us not rely on your views. Let us just do the right thing. Let everybody do what is required of them. If you look at through those reports, I was reviewing them over the weekend. I mean, President Ruto should pick any of those 26 reports and implement one of them. And the exact thing that the youth are demanding, that Kenyans are demanding, is in one of those reports. Take, for example, the Eminent Persons Report, which was chaired by the late Bethwel Kiplagat, 2006.
TJRC.
That TJRC is much later.
Later.
Yeah.
Immediately we did the referendum. In 2005, Kibaki dissolved
His government.
his cabinet. And because there was such division in the country, he formed an eminent persons panel, which generated a report after listening to Kenyans as to why we were divided, etc. That report is there. Later that year, Gracia Machel had been chairing what we call the APRM NEPAD report on Kenya, peer review on Kenya. The report was published. And President Kibaki went to Cotonou and picked that report. It is a very huge report. 46,000 Kenyans were interviewed by the Gracia Machel panel. And the report, the work started in 2004. The report came out in 2006. It identified 8 problems with Kenya. They were not, the recommendations were not acted upon by President Kibaki. In fact, the following year, President Kibaki did exactly the opposite of what the report
was
recommended. He went on and constituted an electoral commission without consulting the opposition, and the country blew up in 2007. Then Kofi Annan came, and we sat, and we generated a huge report, the Kenya National Dialogue Review Report. And the report has exactly the agenda 4 items that were supposed to be acted upon. Let me remind Kenyans for just a minute that some of the other reports is that there was the Waki Commission report, Kriegler Commission, TJRC. TJRC, President Uhuru did not even touch
Open it.
he didn't even open one page of the TJRC report. And the TGS report has everything that needs to be done to heal this nation and set it on the path to victory. We didn't listen to the TGS report. We went into the 2017 clashes, and then there was the BBI with 9 issues. All right? When you read those 9 issues and you look at the Kofi Annan Agenda 4 and you look at the NEPA DPRM, they are identical.
It's the same issues.
It's the same issues. And then we didn't implement BBI because all these reports, this is the thing I need to say, and I said it on Friday. All these reports are for people to share power and to be included in government.
It's not about the citizen.
It's not about the citizens. The report, the dialogue, the talks are so that the elite can be included in government. And now this is very historic, I have to say it. This is the only generation since Kenya became a colony in 1920. This is the only generation which has said, you are not going to use us to share power. The only generation. Mau Mau was used. They died. They fought for independence. The Home Guards took over power.
Yeah.
Then the second generation, those who fought for it, did not benefit from the second liberation. It is Mwai Kibaki who was against, the multi-party democracy, who was the first president under the multi-party era. The beneficiaries in this country, 2010 constitution, President Ruto, Uhuru Kenyatta, people like Gachagua, these were the people who were in the know when we were fighting for the constitution. They are the ones who have become presidents under the new constitution. The beneficiaries, the history of this country shows us that the beneficiaries of this country are not the people who are in the struggle.
So this is interesting because could this struggle, because this is the same thing where it is now, but there's the ask right now is that all Kenyans benefit from a government, from an institution of leadership that does the right thing.
Exactly.
That's the ask. Do you think that this ask must continue until the right thing is done?
It is not going. It is a demand that is the revolution happened on June 25. After June 25, CT, you realize that there are about 20 things, and I published it. The 20 things that changed on June 25th. One of them is that you saw ministers taking away their flags and hiding them. You've not seen people driving on the wrong side of the road.
Sirens blaring.
You've not seen arambes in churches. You've not seen even MPs have not gone out there to brag. Everybody is hiding because something happened on the 25th. Parliament is never, ever going to do things that are not representing the people and doing oversight over the executive. So there's a revolution that has happened in this country. And it's because of that the leadership of Gen Z is saying, our generation is not going to sit here and allow you to use our blood, our tears and our sweat to negotiate for power and inclusion. The question they've asked Raila Odinga is, you want to have dialogue between who and who? Who is having the dialogue? We haven't asked for the dialogue. We've actually told the president that we don't want the dialogue. Time for dialogue is over. Do the right thing and implement, because the only problem in this country is that we do not implement the national consensus. There's a national consensus, we don't implement it.
Yeah.
So the ask is, do the right thing. And the president is not doing the right thing.
So should the ask continue? Should the demand continue until the right thing is done? I think
it is going to continue. So, and what is going to happen is that anybody who is not going to do the right thing is unfortunately going to be a victim of refusing to toe the line and a victim of not doing the right thing that the people have asked. Parliament was told, do not pass the finance bill. They refused to listen to what Article 10 of the Constitution says. What happened to Parliament? It was overrun. And you know, they have not asked themselves, are they really going to come back and continue with parliamentary business as usual? So the president is unable to continue with business as usual basis of governing. The churches are not operating on the basis of how they used to operate. And that's why President Ruto really has to ask himself, what are the people of this country saying? The people of this country are saying, we can't trust you. You are not transparent and accountable. You don't respect us. And unfortunately, you are not disciplined because you don't do the right thing that is supposed to be done by your office. So unless the president responds to those four things in the affirmative, what the young people and the country is telling him is, you must go. You must go.
Ship up or ship out.
Or ship out. And the time is running out. The window really
It's closing very fast.
Is closing very, very quickly.
Our guest this morning is Cyprian Orina-Nyamwamu. He is the spokesperson of the Kenya Bora Tuitakayo movement. He'll tell us a little bit about it shortly. What we are discussing today is the voice of the people. What is it that the people are saying to leaders? And in fact, Cyprian is telling us it's not just the president. It is the president. It is the political leadership, including those in the legislature. It is leadership in the judiciary. It's leadership in other spheres of our society, in church, leadership in university, in school, leadership at home. Leadership is basically just being told, my friend, you leadership, the way you're doing, you're failing.
You know, we're not alone in this. Huh? If you remember in the 60s, when there was clamor for civil rights in the U.S., the part of the U.S. where the clamor was loudest and where segregation and discrimination was greatest was in the South. There was a certain governor of Alabama called George Wallace, pro-segregation. Yani, they die in the wood, no excuses whatsoever. Now, there was an attempt on his life. So he was wheelchair bound. He was a 4-term governor. When the civil rights movement reached its peak, remember what this guy was doing? He's the one who sent the National Guard against people like Martin Luther King. People died. I mean, dogs against people. You watch the footages of these things. It was horrible.
Burning at the stake.
Exactly. That was him. When the civil rights movements took hold and the law started supporting the rights of black people, Wallace did a U-turn. A complete U-turn. In his wheelchair, that man went to black churches, everything where black people were, and he apologized and said, I take full responsibility for the things that I have done and I apologize. And he did the rounds. When elections came, that man got the largest black vote that had ever been seen.
Correct.
He was voted for.
Was he genuine?
Now that is for history to determine. But he went personally and apologized and itemized the things which were wrong. Just say, I'm sorry. People who died here and this, I take responsibility. It is I who did this, and I've come to ask for forgiveness. That he was voted, I believe the people felt...
They believed him.
This man has apologized for his wrongs. Now, the problem is our leaders actually don't mean the things they say.
That's it.
Because they're not our leaders.
Oh, okay. Off the block, Cyprian, why?
No. There's a difference between leadership and the dealership. So Kenya gets dealers, does not get leaders. And really, the conversation we had here in March centered exactly on that. Because if you are a leader of a people, it is said that, first of all, you know the way. Number 2 is that you show the way. And number 3 is that you go the way. You just don't... Leadership is knowing the way. Do they look like they know the way?
These ones of ours.
They don't look like they know the way. Have they shown the people the way? They have not shown the way. Have they gone the way? They have actually gone the opposite direction. So these people don't qualify to be called the leaders of this country. They can be anything else, administrators, power holders, tyrants, whatever you want to call them. But they are not leaders, because leaders know those three things. They know the way, they show the way, and they actually go the way. By the way they live, they show that they actually understand what the people are saying, and they do not live outside the means. I was with the students and the youth in Fungamano on Friday, and they were asking, the president keeps saying, let us live within our means. Does the president know that we don't have means? We don't have means. So you are telling us to live within our means.
He doesn't live within what we don't have.
But we don't have means. We don't have food. We don't have jobs. Instead, is actually the one who's living out of the country's means. So that is somebody who is not leading. Because exactly who is President Ruto leading? I don't think he's even leading the deputy. So
these are not leaders.
These are not leaders. These are dealers. They are in office
transactional.
to use the position to privatize public resources so that they can become dollar millionaires and dollar billionaires. And that's what you see across Africa. And in Kenya, the people have said it is going to stop. It is going to stop.
How do they get there, though, these dealers? How do they wiggle their way?
They have rigged the system, and it has been working, because this is exactly what KANU was. When President Moi told us that KANU will be in power for 100 years, he was serious, and I think he was sincere. You can see that KANU has been there for many more years after 2002. But it is clear that on June 25th, KANU ended. And I'm not talking of KANU the party. I'm talking about KANU the system, KANU the way of life, which is described by those four characteristics that I spoke about. When you don't keep promises, you torture people, you actually ensure that people are living in squalor, and you explain it using ethnic communities or something like that.
But there's an underlying threat here.
Yeah.
And you started by reminding us about it, right? The clamor for independence.
Yeah.
The clamor for the second liberation. And now even this one.
Delivery of the new constitution.
The
stolen elections.
Where we are at right now.
Yeah.
Cyprian, you participate. You are the youth then.
Yes.
In the clamor for second liberation. You're out there and pushing and saying, multipartyism and a new constitution. I'm sure at some point, when the first multi-party election was happening, at some point, some people said, you know what, KANU is over. In 2002, at that moment at Uhuru Park, and where people were jubilating and up there and saying, yote yawezekana, at that moment, people said, you know what, this system is over.
But who had we elected? We had elected Mwai Kibaki.
The people believed that this thing is over.
Yes.
In 2010, again, same Uhuru Park, and the flag at Uhuru Park is then hoisted, and the birth of a new republic. People said, that thing is over. The people have decided. Now we are saying, because of what happened on June 25th, that thing is over. The people have decided.
No. What happened on what happened on June 25th is not what has been happening in this country. What has been happening since 2002 with the ushering in of the new constitution is that we see the change in the form, not change in the content. It has been changed in form. So there is a new constitution, we have new counties, we have Senate, we have new whatever, we have many institutions. It was all about form. But there was no change of values, no change of beliefs, no change of behavior. So people use the same constitution to continue doing the wrong things. And that's exactly what has caught up with the Ruto. It is what has caught, because Ruto is sworn in on day one. You can even hear the language they're using at Kasarani. All right? The president comes and says, oh, once I put down the Bible, he forgets that he actually swore to implement on the oath. I don't even know why he was putting the Bible down, because he carried it. Why was he putting it down? And then he swore to uphold the Constitution. But he has been violating it. And he has been threatening people that the sword he was given was for slaughtering people who do not do the things that he wants.
Did he actually say that?
He said it. It's if you play one of your clips here, you will see it, that the sword he was given is not for chopping vegetables. It is for dealing with the people who oppose his programs. People like Omtata and us who go to court, and we are already in court to challenge his Appropriations Act because it's unconstitutional. So then, until you come to the time you live by the Constitution and uphold the rule of law, it's going to catch up with you. And it has caught up with this president.
So what's changed this time?
What?
What has changed this time? And I'm asking that in that context of, 2002, December, I was actually at Uhuru Park and covering the swearing in of Mwai Kibaki. And the jubilation, the energy in the crowd. Everything, whatever was happening to Moi at that crowd was just the people just basically saying, done with this, out with the old, in with the new. And it was the people.
But it was change of personnel.
But also the people were saying that they are also changing. Remember that.
We arrested.
They started arresting.
Let me show you the difference. Let me show you the difference.
Right.
In 2003, immediately President Mwai came in, we actually believed that Kanu was dead. And what did we do? And I'm speaking about myself because I was right there. We went around arresting policemen who were taking bribes. We were evicting people from offices that were not doing the right thing, that were not giving good service. After 6 months, going to 7 months, a group of friends in Salama, this near Emali here. I'm talking of Boas Waruku, I'm talking about Kawive Wambua and others, are doing civic education, and they see these policemen coming to the market at Salama and destroying the wares of these women, and they went there and asked them, but what are you doing? And then they see policemen taking bribes. They actually arrested 3 of them and took them to the police station at Salama. What happened is that instead of the policemen being taken in, Boas and Kawive Wambua were taken in and the policemen were released. That is when we realized that it was over. This guy called Mwai Kibaki did not believe he is not going to keep his word. The policemen are back to the old ways of doing things. What this generation is doing is that they are not going to allow you not to keep your word.
Wait. So the citizens who had believed that they can change.
Yes.
And they were taking change, right? And implementing change on the ground. Something happened and they stopped doing that.
Yes.
2010, again, Kasarani. I was there as early as 5:30 a.m. when people were coming in and we were setting up our OB van to broadcast this thing live. And the kind of energy again was reminding us of what was happening years earlier and the birth of a new republic. And it was not just about system of government. It was, yes, we have reduced the powers of the presidency. We are bringing development to our people by having this devolution system.
That was intent.
The best Bill of Rights in this country. We have a chapter on leadership and integrity. We are doing things differently. We have given unto ourselves a constitution. The other one was brought to us from Lancaster. This one is ours, homegrown, inbred. And then what happened?
So that was intent. Citizens had high hopes and high intents. They were not fulfilled by those who were put in office. What has happened since last year, Eric, is that citizens are, and this is the discussion we had here in March, that the problem of every country is the quality of its citizens. Do you remember this? City, that is what we were discussing here.
Yep.
That the quality of the citizenship determines the direction the country takes.
Yep.
What have the citizens of this country done in 2024? They have said, we are not going to wait until the election of 2027 to tell you that you are doing the wrong thing. They have closed down parliament. They have told the president, we are coming to occupy State House. It is our house. Parliament is ours. If you don't represent oversight and make laws in the interest of our benefit, we are not going to allow you to operate. So what has happened now is that the citizens in 2003 who pulled back when they realized that the state was not for them are saying that this state is going to go because it is the one which is not doing what we are asking it to do. So that is the massive difference between 20 years ago and now. And so Kenya has changed forever because, and we are showing Africa. I was telling Ndu here in March that you are going to see the things we are going to do in the coming months. Because Kenyans are tired with the way William Ruto is managing this country. That he cannot keep his word. He keeps making promises and he doesn't fulfill them. He doesn't respect the people of Kenya. He is not transparent and accountable. That's why corruption is going on in his government. And he is not disciplined. Why? He doesn't do the right thing that the people are asking him to do. Those are the things we were saying here. And the gap which has been there is, are citizens going to stand up and say enough is enough? And they have said enough is enough. So now, what is going to happen to William Ruto with these talks? His talks are not the solution. City has already told you what the solution is by giving the example of Wallace in the US. President William Ruto should stop the games of, tinkering with this, shifting this one, sacking this one, and moving this one, and changing this one, and meeting this Raila, and meeting the next one. It is not going to wash. The people have told him, if you want to be president of the Republic of Kenya until 2027, tell us who murdered Kenyans on 25th. Oh yes, establish a body that get all these security chiefs from office because they are the ones who masterminded the murdering of Kenyans who are exercising their Article 37 rights. So if the president believes that, he's going to change one more thing and another one, and then people next week will somehow, he's forgetting that these young people have three things we didn't have. Eric, you've covered my protests and all these things for many years. I didn't have the tools that these ones have. What is the first tool? They didn't. They are using the constitution that I went to jail for. I didn't have it. I was fighting for it. Now they have it and they are using it. They are reading it to the president. I didn't have it. They have it. The second tool that the youth have that we didn't have is technology. These people are running X spaces, rallies, 140,000 rally every day. I didn't have that comfort. I needed hard cash to mobilize for a rally at Kamukunji. They don't need it. Then they have the third thing, which is their demography. In 2007, in 1997, when we were on the streets with NCEC, the youth were the minority voters. We were only 26% of the voters in 1997. Right now, 72% of the voters are young people below the age of 35. So you can no longer address young people as if they are the ones you are accommodating. You have to address them as if you are asking for permission to be with them because it's their country. So the mindset has not shifted. William Ruto and the people around him, our president, is still operating the way Mo used to operate. But Moi used to operate under that constitution. Moi's demography was different. Moi's technology reality was different. So President Ruto and the Bungeis and the whatevers of this country are waiting for youth on the street to stop them from demonstrating. But they are doing their rally on X space, and they are making resolutions, and they are implementing those resolutions, and they are raising 25 million shillings.
Sure. What's prescribed and what an individual will actually do, those are, how you will react. So if you give a prescription to something, right, the question is, how would we know? How would it then become something that is satisfactory at whatever level? If the president today, with a desire to still be president come 2027, how would we be clear that actually, yes, finally, he's listening? What would we see? How would we present? And then we know, okay, finally, he's starting to get an idea of what we are saying.
There are 5 options for the president and the republic. And those 5 options have to be considered very carefully. The first option is what we call the Gen Z option. The Gen Z option is where the youth are saying Ruto must go. Mm-hmm. He either goes by resigning or he goes through continued street action and, whatever follows. I don't know where that route is going to end. Mm-hmm. Then there's the second option or the second scenario, which is the constitutional route. Under Article 1 of the Constitution, the people of Kenya can go to court tomorrow and say that power is exercised through representatives or directly. And therefore, we are asking for a referendum to remove President Ruto from office. That is available under Article 1 of the Constitution.
What would bring about the refusal of that request?
No, we'll come to that. I want to go through the options quickly.
3.
The third option is what we call the redemptive option. Is what the churches have offered, is what the voices of reason have offered the president. They have told the president, you lost power on 25th of June. President Ruto lost power. So he has to regain power because right now he does not have the social license to operate. So how does he regain power? Under option 3. They have told him, number 1, sack the cabinet. Number 2, change the leadership of parliament because the young braggadocious, arrogant young men there are the reason the parliament has been overrun. So he can't come back with those ones. Number 3, they are telling him, establish a judicial commission of inquiry for Kenya to know who killed the protesters, who burnt government houses, who did all these evil things. That's the third thing. The fourth thing is that sack all your security chiefs. Because Amin is there on Kiambu Road, but Amin is the one who's responsible for all these abductions. It is not Kome, it is Amin, the boss of DCI. Yes, and these Subarus and these abductions, that is Amin. He's still in office, and he has not answered to who abducted who. So that's the fourth thing. The fifth thing is that you must get the military off the street by going to parliament and rescinding the order or the parliamentary approval of applying the military in civilian matters. Number 6 is that the president has already signed the IBC bill into law. Give the people of Kenya their right to recall rogue MPs who vote yes when the people are saying vote no. So you are going to see very many recalls across the country. He didn't lose power on that day. So for us, it's very clear how the president must take the country forward.
Cyprian, always a pleasure having you here.
Thank you.
We'll come again soon. Orina-Nyamwamu is a spokesperson for the Kenya Bora Tuitakayo movement. We'll be talking about the voice of the citizens.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.